Hey guys, it's me again. It's just about noontime on Friday here. So I went ahead and I posted a video on InDesign. I hope that's helpful for everybody here. I know it's nothing to do with BIM, but it was what was requested, a kind of little InDesign tutorial. It's pretty light, only an hour long. Hopefully it can get you started. InDesign's a great little tool to get to lots of great things. I was going to continue doing a little BIM tips and tricks in Revit. However, I got a little note from someone in the class who said that on Wednesday this week they lost all of their work in Revit. It crashed, whatever happened. This happens sometimes. It's rare, but it does happen. Usually, I realize we're now in the fourth week or so of school. I think you probably got some material from previous weeks. You're never starting from zero, right? You should have a backup, some sort of save somewhere in the ether on your desktop, on the cloud, some sort of backup save. Revit's pretty good at doing these backups, so I'd be curious to know in detail what that looked like. 4 weeks of school, and now you lose everything. It can be pretty challenging. So the first thing I want to say is it's not the most helpful, but when I was in school, instructors would say, don't panic. And you wouldn't want to hear this, but the second thing is that the second time you do something, it's twice as fast. So I know it's not ideal, but that is sometimes the harsh reality of working with computers and software is we do sometimes lose our work. I encourage you to save often so that doesn't happen. But that all being said, I thought maybe it was a good time just to kind of revisit our importing and do a quicker, we'll call it a quicker video of massing, and just to get us back on track here. So a couple questions to do with massing itself and the import process. So one thing that I noticed is when we do the import of the CAD, I just want to get us organized with our Project North and our True North before we even get started. So that being said, why don't I just go ahead and let's jump into Revit here. So Revit streams all open. It's going to open up a new model. We got new architectural template, hit OK. And for us, this is our kind of standard template popping up. So for me, I'm just going to jump in here, and I've already started the process of getting this massing test together. I've got it open. You may end up with, maybe you want to clean this up, clean your CAD file up a little bit. Again, this was donated graciously by someone in the ARC class here just to get us started. And if you watched a previous video, I'm using the same file and just trying to keep it a little tighter. We'll try and keep it to 20 minutes here. So I've got our wonderful little site model here. I'm going to go ahead and jump back into Revit. And if you remember, I'm going to link it. So I'm going to link it, go to the Insert tab, link the CAD, and we're going to jump down to our wherever our file is and hit open. So I should end up with wonderful little piece of CAD. If I jump to 3D, we've got this wonderful little 3D piece all set up for us wonderfully. So one thing that I do want to cover is our Project North, and I tried my best to find a better way to do this. This is the only way that I could find is how to actually set up our Project North and our True North. So one thing you'll notice is our kind of, usually where we like to do our modeling, are kind of like this little space, this little rectangle. Little rectangle. Okay. Little rectangle in here. It's the idea of modeling in between these spaces is really a good starting point for Revit. However, we can see that we're kind of off that. So one thing I'd like to do is just quickly move what I think is our site into this central point here. Now, normally we would have survey points. We would have a way to geographically locate this site using a survey map. I don't have that information. I apologize if you guys don't have it. This is kind of what I would do. I'm just giving you the best strategy for how I would get to starting doing a building massing as quickly as I could. So of course, one thing that's going to be really important is making sure our north is correct. So in this case, I believe that north is straight up. So for us, I think that this is kind of representative of what would be our true north scenario. So in the meantime, why don't I go ahead? I'm going to move what I think is our site into the kind of central point here. Now, the first thing you'll notice if I try to do this is we're going to end up with a little error. It's going to say I can't move because it's a pinned element. Can't move pinned element. Pinning things can be really helpful for, if you don't want to move something. So super quick here, if I click on my linked CAD here, I can come up here to the modify tab and hit that unpin button. And now I should be able to move it. So I'm just going to go ahead and move up here somewhere around this vicinity here. And next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to insert a little north arrow so that I know what is north when it comes to the drawing itself here. So I'm going to come here, annotate, symbol, give myself a little north arrow, and just so that I remember that north is straight up for me. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to rotate this view, I'm going to rotate this massing model to be what would be perceived as our true north rather than our project north. Project north. So over here in our little view tab here, we got true north, project north. I think I can set this up first, and I'm going to rotate our view so that we can have the true north be what it should be. So let's do this. So I'm going to rotate. So I'm going to go over here, rotate, and I'm going to place this. Actually, you know what? Let's do this. Let's do it this way. I'm going to come down here. I'm going to rotate just based on our project base point here. And I could come down here and I'm going to make this 25.5. So 25.5, and I'm just going to I'm going to move this a little bit over here. And I'd like to get us kind of centered on this portion. So what does that all mean? So right now, this is really, I'm just setting up our project north. And I'm going to need to go back and reset up our true north. The reason it's important to do this right now is so that I can make sure that my elevation markers and my plans are all oriented towards this project north orientation. And then I'll go back and change what the true north is. So if you saw when I did that rotation, I know it to be 25.5. For me, what I'm going to do right now is come over here to the Manage tab, and I come over all the way to position, and I'm going to say rotate true north. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back here to place. And I got to remember that my true north is actually going to be, it's 25.5. But did I rotate the wrong way? I think I did. So hold on one second. I'm going to undo what I just did, and I'm going to make sure that I capture that that little north arrow when I do the rotation. So let's try that again. So I'm going to grab this. I'm also going to grab my my little piece here, and I'm going to go ahead and now I'm going to rotate it just so you guys can see what I was trying to get at before. So place, grab this, and rotate by 25.5, and now, okay, that's better. So now I can see that my north arrow is showing true north, right? So it's showing true north. I should have done that to begin with. So now we've got a kind of, my true north is we want to set that up. Currently, we've got, let's jump over to manage, and we'll go position, rotate true north. And what I'd like to do is just hit this little place here. And I actually want this to be like this. Ta-da. So now if we jump over here to our orientation here on the left, we'll see true north. And if I drop this down, if I drop this down to project north, you'll see it rotates the view. So what I want to do is make sure that my elevation markers and all these fun things are oriented correctly to my kind of main orthogonal space. You can have this true north, the true north is the true north. You can have the project north, whatever you want it set to. So for instance, if I wanted to reset my project north here to something else, say I had a different site, I could jump over here to the manage tab again, hit position, rotate project north, and I'm going to say align to selected plane. And let's just say, for instance, I had a site. What's a good one? What's a good one? Something on an off street, an angled street. Okay, maybe this is better. So let's say, what are these sites here? So right now, remember, I've got my model line to choose, and I can say, okay, I've now rotated my site, and now I've got the project north is oriented towards this instead of true north. So my true north is still consistent, but my project north is just for this project. If I was, for instance, to change this to true north, it's now going to give me back my true north. You could see that because the north arrow is pointed straight up. Good to go, right? I'm going to undo all that, just so you guys can see what's going on. True north, get that arrow in there, make sure everything's cool. So now if I jump to 3D, I'm going to come in here and we'll see that this is a little bit better for me, is I could see that my orientation of my little levels is looking a little bit cleaner than I did in my first video. So first thing I would do if I was you is set up a section box in here. I'm going to hit this little section box command, and I'm going to pull everything into my site nice and tight here, and give us a little working zone. I don't know how much of the context buildings you guys like to model in, but what we can do here is, this is just a starting point. Now I got some questions about massing in general. I'm sure that you guys have a setback, I don't know what it is, from each side of your lot lines. So if you've got lot line setbacks, back of lot setbacks, I think you have an angular plane as well. So we can start to test some of these things inside of our massing itself against things like the angular plane and our setbacks. However, I don't have that information. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to quickly model some stuff for us. I had some questions about massing in general. I'm going to grab our architecture tab. You can do this any number of ways. Actually, I'm going to go massing in site tab, excuse me. And I'm going to do a little in-place mass, and you're going to get a little warning, show mass enabled. It's all good. Let's hit close here. That's fine. I'm going to call this podium. And now we're inside of the massing command. So I had some questions about, how do I make sure my model is solid? And of course, if I, jump here and, for instance, there's a couple of ways we could do this. I'm more the type to just start modeling and then see what we get. But I do know that because we've got some setbacks and this type of thing, it would be good to know exactly what those setbacks are. If I go ahead now and I click on some of these, I could see how big they are. What if I just say, 14, let's just leave it actually. Let's just build a little mass here. This is one way to do it. We're going to create a form, do a solid form. And now I've got a solid form. By default, it's set it to 10 meters. We can change this to 12 meters, for instance. Only did it on the one side. Remember our tab select. So if I tab select the face, I can now either grab this little gumball and move it up and down. You can see it's pretty loose with our elevations here. So if I want to set that for real, I can do it there. And then the question was, how do I build additional masses here? How do I build additional masses on top of this mass? You can do it two different ways. How I would probably do it is just continue to model pieces. It's going to let me snap these elements. And I'm going to grab my face again. And what I could do is create form, solid form, and it's going to give me, in this case, it gave me 7,000. Can change it to something else, 10,000. Now remember, inside of Revit, we can kind of grab, now these are modeled as two independent masses, within the same mass. So it's going to get pretty complicated pretty quick. So let's do this. If I grab this piece, I can kind of push and pull, much like in SketchUp. If you watch the SketchUp tutorial, I can pull and push just pieces, right? So if I wanted to, move some of these geometries for whatever reason, right? I've got a nice little strange massing here. We can grab, if I grab just the face again, I can pull this out. So again, we want to be mindful of what those angular planes, those angular setbacks, what those angular planes and our lot setbacks look like. I'm kind of just messing around here. But for instance, now if I hit the little check mark finish mass, I've got a kind of finished architectural mass here. And if I click on it, you'll see that I've got some ability to make some modifications here. I can change the plane of the face. I think I can change this. It's going to lift the whole body, right? So I can lift the whole body up here. All of these kind of fun things to mess with. Okay, slightly different way of modeling. I'm going to delete this. Slightly different way of modeling is if we've got our lot lines, I believe that these are our lot lines. We should be able to pick these. I had some issues with this earlier, so I'll try and do this slowly. If we're going to, again, we're still using the same massing tool. So I'm going to jump in here, in place mass, building, call it something smart. Building, and say for instance, I know what my offset needs to be. I don't know what it is for you guys. So let's call it 2 meters from the back lot and from the side lots, for instance. And that offset now should be live. If I start to draw, if it's on the wrong side, actually, let's jump to our floor plan view. If I start to draw, and I can use this offset here of, let's call it 2,000, so 2 meters. And if I start to draw here, I should, if I'm on the wrong side, I can hit spacebar and kind of get to where I need to be. Whoops. And of course, I've just done it myself. 2 meters offset. I'm going to trace out our lot line. Is that right? Give me this. And then light. So be careful with this. Line is slightly off axis and may cause inaccuracies because I'm following literally a 2 meter setback on all sides. And then I just trimmed that. I've now got this, from all sides. If I dimension this, whoops. So dimension is DI, if anybody forgets. We've got these 2 meter setbacks. Whoops. 2 meter setbacks from all sides. Let's see what it looks like at the front. Greater than 2 meters. So anyhow, this is, a starting point. Maybe this is how I want to start building my mass. So for me, I like to work in 3D. So I'm going to jump back to the 3D here, and I could see that 3D outline of my 2 meter setbacks is still looking pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and create form, solid form here. We could set this, actually, before I do that, if I click this and create form, solid form. Okay, that's fine. So now we've got 10 meters in here. I'm going to make it 12, right? Click there. So now we kind of have the first little bit of our massing. We can, of course, if I hit check mark here, we can, of course, if we want to edit this mass, edit in place. If we want to jump back to the plan here, and we could see some of these pieces here, we can do them just like this, and then jump back to 3D. We could see those updates taking place in real time, 31 and 27, and 2 meters still at the back. If you needed to modify these, we can, of course, do what I was just doing before, grab the face and pull them. Remove reference. So one thing to notice is that little arrow there, it's saying that dimensions that I'm taking, if they're not parallel, Revit has a hard time understanding what you want it to do. So we need to have those dimension strings parallel to whatever we're referencing from. Okay, check mark, finish mass. Let's say we want to have 2 separate masses. So 2 completely separate masses. This is one of the questions I just got is, 2 completely separate masses. Let's say I want to do another mass on top of this mass, which is of course totally feasible. Let's grab another in-place mass here. We'll call it mass 1. That's fine for now. And let's say, you're like, well, why won't it let me, I just want to model on top here. So Revit's pretty good. We can tab select through. So if you're not seeing this, you can tab select through to get to a corner piece, but you can see already it's not quite maybe what we want, right? So we're now, the orientation, the kind of UCS, Universal Coordinate System, is it's trying to link to our project north here, so our up down, and it's not quite in line with our setbacks. So what we can do instead is we should be able to use our little pick lines here. So let's use our little pick lines tool, and again, tab select to get to the one you want. So I'm just tabbing through here, tab again. Line is slightly off axis, right? So we know that. Tab again. And now you'll see, oh, nuts. Why are all these off? I did all that work, and now I could see that I've got 2 lines down here, 1 line up here, and then 1 line up here. So what Revit's trying to tell you is your work plane is lower than your current plane. So we could try, I find this part a little bit finicky. So what we can do is, if we would rather pick lines, we just got to be really careful here. So pick line here, you can see it automatically jumps, right? So how do I really make sure that this is getting the right one? And you can see it's smart, but this could be pretty frustrating, right? So I could see here, is this going to let me create a form? I can't tell if that bottom one, okay, so it did. So the bottom one there, I just want to make sure that that's all cool. So this is quick and dirty way of doing this. And now, I can do those same elements here. I can grab this and move it in, remembering my angular plane here, going to grab the top here, push this down a little bit, and so on and so forth. If I just hit finish mass, now I should have 2 completely separate masses. A slightly different way, I'm just going to go ahead and delete this. A slightly different way, if we want to do that massing exercise again, and this is related to the comment that I got, if you're finding this part really frustrating, which it can of course be, what I would encourage us to do is start to set some planes of working, or reference planes. And in place mass, we'll do this again, mass 1, that's fine. If you remember, if you didn't have me, that's fine last semester, but if you did have me, remember we could set these work planes or these reference planes, and what we're going to try and do is set the work plane where we want to start drawing our model mass from. And in this case, we're going to say, okay, set the work plane, and for us, we can actually just hover, and if I hover over the top of this mass here, if I click this, I hit show, it's going to say, oh, this is where you want me to start drawing our new mass. And if I go ahead and I'm going to pick something totally goofy here, but if I pick this, and now I've got, you could see here that my form is located on the top of that original work plane, right? Finish that mass. Now I've got this, interesting shape that I can mess with, however you want to mess with it. Slightly different version, if I've got a little pocket balcony I want to throw on here, or some sort of massing piece, I'm going to go ahead and let's grab back to our massing tools here. So massing in sight, in place mass, do this again. If I set a different mass, so I'm going to set, a different work plane, I'm going to set my work plane, and let's set the side of the building. So if you've seen this now, I'm going to hit show. Actually, let's do show again, just so you guys could see. So I just tapping show here, it's saying, all right, you want me to model something on the east part of our building? That's cool, whatever you like. And now if I start to model something, okay, that's cool. The line is slightly off axis. I'm going to hit create form, solid form, and now you can see I've got this little piece popping off the building, right? If I hit finish mass here, we've got something cooking. So that is really where I wanted you guys to, hopefully this is helpful. This is really what I understood the question to be from somebody on Blackboard. So if you've got other questions, I'm happy to answer them. Just gonna go ahead and quickly model something else, grab our little piece here, give ourselves a little solid projection, starting to look like some sort of building in here. And I finish that mass up, and I can't remember if I can combine these. I'm just going to combine them together. Join. Is it going to let me? Can't remember if I can do this or not. Maybe not. Join geometry. Maybe. Didn't give me an error, but it also didn't do what I wanted it to do. So the reason that I like to keep things all masked in the same piece is so that I can mask the floors up in one shot. So if I go ahead and just try to do this, create form, solid form, blam, blam, blam. I don't know how tall even your building is going to be for our class here. Whoops. But this could be really helpful, is to mask everything up simultaneously. Sometimes it's nice to have a little cut back here. Let's set this back a little bit. Maybe I'll do this one too. just tab selecting to get to this one single face that I want. Grab this. Maybe I want to add a edge here. So what I can do here is, whoops, oh, I got to do it on add the profile. I can add a little profile in here. Oh, whoops. Whoops. I'm gonna undo all that. Get out of here. Okay, that's okay for now. So what we'll do is we're gonna grab our views. So if I jump over here to my elevation views, go to my east view, we'll see, oh nuts, I've got, I'm all the way out here. What am I actually looking at? So actually before I do that, I should hit finish mass here. We can see this maybe isn't exactly useful for us. So we've got all of this stuff kind of turned on here. Maybe we'll move this in a little bit for now. See if we can modify this a little bit. I have a feeling this is probably seeing too far. This one is probably seeing too far too. And let's jump back to our east view here. And we can kind of see all of the information, right? So all of our information in here. But the important part is that I can kind of see my levels showing up correctly. And really what I want to do in the next exercise is make sure that we've got all of our levels showing up. Let's call it, actually let's do 5 meters. And then I'll copy this one up 5 meters. And we got level 2. I'll pull this across. And now let's do 4. Let's just keep going here. So I'm going to do copy, multiple. Let's keep going all the way up. So you guys are probably looking at 3 meters rather than 4. I'm just doing 4 because that's easy for me right now. I jump back to 3D here. And you can see here I've quickly masked up just a number of levels. If I click this, I could go ahead and hit mask floors. And now if I select all these, whoops, hit check mark, I've got a very quick idea of what those floor plates are going to look like across my building. Not bad, right? Quick little massing model. And now if I was to go ahead and turn on my my sun study here, grab sun path on. Actually, I should probably, that's fine. Where my shadows at. So if I turn on my shadows, I should start to see some of these pieces, right? I'm starting to see a little bit of what that shadow study is going to look like. I can go ahead and I can modify. This is 3:56 a.m. I shouldn't see any. Oh, excuse me, 3:56 is the beginning. This is at 10 a.m. on June 1st. We can start to see what these, what the sun is going to look like moving around the sky. Not bad, right? So if we want to see more of the site, we can of course expand our little section box here, and just going to pull these out a little bit. Something like this. Now I can remember, I'm going to see if I can do this off the top of my head. I remember there being some challenges here with the way that Revit wants to see the massing itself is through the materials. And the materials right now are going to show transparent. So I think this is the tool. I'm just going to jump in here and get to our, where is my materials? So materials, and if I jump to massing, I believe that the massing material is actually set to transparent or translucent. So let's just jump to massing. Maybe it's mass. Default mass. We can see that, yeah, this is going to be what it is. But I can't find, if I jump in here, what is my edit type? Mass. Okay, let's do this again. Let's grab this. That's okay. what I want to do is make it solid. So I got to remember how to do this, guys. Apologies. Let's do manage materials. It's got to be in here, but massing. Default mass exterior wall. It's not going to be this. Let's super quick see if this happens. Didn't change anything. So it's one of these. I don't remember off the top of my head. I'll leave a note in the YouTube video once I find out how to do this. But just for you guys as a super quick starting point, this is really what we're trying to get to here. We can see we got the massed floors here. So, starting to see if I reduce my height, I can very quickly articulate, okay, I've masked these floors up. What does that look like on site? Super slick, super quick. Got the sun study on. You can modify some of those things. Once I remember how to actually get in here and change it might even be object styles. You know what? Let's see that. It might be object styles in here for massing. It is. So material, what is my default material here? Here it is. Aha! So super quick here. In my head, it was part of the materials palette. That is incorrect. It's part of the object styles. For whatever reason in Revit, this is part of the default material settings. Coming to object styles, we'll jump down to massing itself. And the default right now is going to be, if I click this default here, it's going to show a transparency of 50%. If I come back and hit OK, just remember you've done this. Now I set it as 100%, which is not what I wanted to do. I want to set it to 0. Let's jump back down here. Massing, default for massing. We'll set it to 0 rather than 100. 100 obviously means all the way 0. So here, ta-da. So if you're wondering how to get that solid look on there for things like our little sun study here with our, what that's going to look like across the site. So we're clearly casting some shadows in these people's backyards. They may or may not like that. But hopefully this is helpful. I wanted to get us to a stage, for those of us who happen to have lost work. I hope this is helpful. If not, let me know. If it was, leave a note in the comments or send me a note on Blackboard or in an email form, and I'll try to get to everybody's questions. Everybody's got different sets of concerns and comments, so I'm happy to try and answer them. I hope this was helpful, and we'll chat soon, guys. So thanks again for taking the time to watch the video, and we'll chat soon. So send me your notes, send me your comments, send me any background information for your respective projects that you want questions for. It's hard for me to answer questions without a kind of reference document. So if you're like, oh, my Revit model isn't showing X, I can at least open up that model and say, oh, this is why this isn't working. And then I can maybe show the rest of the class, and I won't use their names, but I just want to kind of get a clear understanding from everybody. What are the questions we've got? How can I help? So hopefully this is helpful. I'll shoot this up on YouTube in the next 20 minutes or so, and you guys should have access to it. Thanks so much. Talk to you soon. Take it easy. Bye.